does personal freedom mean to you? You hear those words, what comes into your mind? Lucille's reading started us off this morning on a description of what personal freedom is about. What does freedom mean in this teaching? We know we get a lot of free thinkers in here, a lot of people who like to think independently, a lot of people who don't want to follow someone else's rules, who don't want a lot of dogma or somebody telling them what to believe. So what does personal freedom? You could also, if you want to in your mind, think spiritual freedom. But on a very personal level, what does personal freedom mean to you? Today I'm going to talk about embracing that road to personal freedom. So personal freedom, I took a shot at it here. In everything I say this morning, listen to what resonates and what works for you, but also allow your mind to go off into other places where maybe something I say sparks an idea that is true for you. So please feel free to do that as you go along this morning. So personal freedom to me is feeling comfortable in my own skin. You know that feeling when you feel confident to do the things you want to do? Yeah? Second one is feeling awake and alive. You know, I'm in touch enough that I see the sunset and it enters me. Or I feel a breeze on my skin. So that feeling of really being awake and alive. One of the words in Lucille's reading was enthusiasm. You know, I've got that energy for life. For me, it often shows up as curiosity. So feeling awake and alive, laughing. I went to a Christmas party. I worked at Bow Valley College, and we had a Christmas party on the 18th. And we had a comedian. And he knew he was in a corporate event, so he found just the right level of being not too risque, but getting us a little bit on the edge of our seats. And I laughed for 45 minutes straight. And I thought, oh my goodness, this feels good. So that feeling of being awake and alive. Personal freedom also to me means feeling included and connected with others. You know, we come here in part for that. Many people say they come to the center for community, that sense of belonging with others. We don't want to do everything on our own. Family, friends, co-workers, and not comparing ourselves to others, but just enjoying being connected with them. It's also making a meaningful contribution. I know many of you here, our congregation, we do all kinds of wonderful work, either in the actual work that we do that we get paid for, but also in the work that we do outside of our paid work. We make a contribution, we make the world better. We do take this idea of co-creating a world that works for everyone seriously. So it's really important to me that part of my personal freedom is making a contribution. So in short for me, feeling like my life is working. So are all the areas of my life working? Right? The domain of health, the domain of relationships, finances, career. You may find like me that some of the areas flow a little better than others. Some of them are just like, okay, I'm in there. Other ones, I have my moments. But definitely it's when I can see my life is basically it's working. So personal freedom is being aware for me that I'm living a life of joy and meaning. I use that phrase quite a bit, a life of joy and meaning. And to me, it really has to go together. That I'm joyful, I'm experiencing joy, I'm receiving and giving love, and I'm feeling joyful, I'm experiencing joy. But also that what I do has meaning to me. That I can feel engaged in the contribution that I am making, that I'm not going to my work with resentment. I'm not getting booked so that now I don't enjoy anything that I'm doing. That I infuse meaning into what I do. So I have a few little photographs here. This is a photograph I took, so for me beauty is really important. It brings a lot of joy to me. This is family. This is me, and I'm on the road. You can see I have a seatbelt on, so I'm moving along in my life and also physically and metaphorically. And of course I couldn't have a presentation without my lovely mama in there. Many of you know or have heard of my mom, you probably think you know her. She passed away a year and a half ago, but she's still very much with me. So that connection with others and really living a life of joy and meaning. And the being aware I highlighted because I realized as I was doing the talk that I am truly living my life of joy and meaning. What shifts is my awareness of that. So all of us already have personal freedom. And I'm going to talk about what are some of the barriers that keep us from remembering that. Because I am living this life of joy and freedom, but I keep forgetting that. Anybody else? Yeah. We forget that everything we ever wanted is already ours. That personal freedom is absolutely ours right here, right now. And what is important is that we open up to it. That we find ways to be aware of it, to encourage it, to nurture it in our lives. So what limits your experiences? Or actually, before we do that, what would you add or delete to this slide? You know, your idea of personal freedom may sound quite different than this. Maybe your idea of personal freedom is that you can come and go as you please. Maybe your idea of personal freedom is you have the freedom to do your spiritual practices the way that you want to. So thinking as I go through the talk, thinking about what does your personal freedom mean to you. So when I do that forgetting, I called it, I have bouts of spiritual amnesia. Where I kind of forget. And so when I'm doing that, when I'm forgetting that I am living this life of joy and meaning, I forfeit that personal freedom. And I do that kind of more often than I like to admit, maybe. So even though I'm up here being a minister, I do fall in and out a bit. So in the ways I do that, the ways that I forfeit that personal freedom, is I get anxious and worried about the state of the world. Any of you been kind of thrown off by all that stuff happening down south? I was really rocked by that. I gotta tell you, for a week, I was feeling nauseous the first day. I was complaining to my coworkers. I was not experiencing personal freedom. And I was not coming from the teaching that I know so well, and I live most of the time. I was really pretty thrown off. So sometimes I can get worried about the state of the larger world. I can also get worried about health issues, or I get stressed by the things-to-do list that seems just too long to manage. Any of you experience that? For me, it often shows up as what I call, the technical term is an icky feeling. An icky feeling in the solar plexus, for me. You may experience it somewhere else in your body, or maybe it's not quite as physical for you, but it's that feeling kind of dread, right? That feeling of, oh, something's not quite right here. And I know that when I'm doing that, it's self-imposed, but it can be pretty strong if I don't pay attention and do something about it. So I found an article on the web this week that illustrates some of the things that can take us out of experiencing our personal freedom. And this article was called 9 Lies We Tell Ourselves. And it was on a website called Brightside, and I think he put it together from a few other websites that he cited. And he makes the point that the lies we believe turn into truths which we live. That's our teaching, yeah? The lies we believe, the things we tell ourselves that are not true, turn into the truths we believe, if we're not careful, if we don't do something about it. So I picked out a few of the lies. I'm not going to do all 9 of them. If you want to Google them, feel free, but I recommend you just hear these ones and move on. A few of them that I picked out were, the one that I picked out first was, I'm too old for that. Anybody ever do that? Oh, I'm too old to start a university degree. I'm too old to get married again. I'm too old to get a new job. I'm too old. Okay? The truth is, you're never too old for anything. Nelson Mandela was 76 years old when he became president. Leonardo da Vinci turned 51 the year he painted the Mona Lisa. Colonel Sanders opened his first Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise at the age of 61. Somebody was 61. I started a Master's of Education when I was 53 and graduated when I was 56. So there are always people who accomplish significant things when we would look at them and say the age and the odds maybe are not in their favor. So spiritual truth, never too old for anything. So the path to personal freedom lies in knowing we're never too old or too young to fulfill our calling. Another one I picked out was, money doesn't love me. Anybody here ever fall into that one? It's kind of like, ouch. And this thinking is kind of like relegating yourself to failure from the start. Right? If your overall belief is, I'm not that prosperous, or I didn't come from prosperity, you're already behind. The truth, spiritual truth is, you deserve everything that you're dreaming about. And that there's an entire universe that is just waiting to support you. And all you need to do is open your arms, your eyes, your mind to receive your good. So the path to personal freedom is letting ourselves dream of something bigger and better, because it's our spiritual inheritance. Another one I picked out was, when I have whatever, then I'll be happy. Relationship. When I win the lottery is one of my faves. When I win the lottery, like that's a useful thing to spend your time on. When I win the lottery, then I'll be happy. So the idea that happiness is going to come when we reach our goal, but we know it doesn't work that way. Happiness doesn't come from the goal. Happiness, our sense of joy and satisfaction, is temporary and fleeting when we achieve a goal. Usually, right? We get a goal and then now we're on to the next one. So the happiness doesn't come from achieving the goal. The happiness really comes from engaging in, moving towards something that's going to give us greater joy. So the truth is that happiness is the horse, the accomplishment is the cart, not the other way around. So why don't we try to feel happy without giving ourselves unnecessary ultimatums on our path to personal freedom, not putting conditions on personal freedom. Another one I thought of, or I took from the article, I have two more. The next one is, I can do that later. Well, maybe, maybe not. None of us knows how much time we are going to have on this planet in this physical form. So, and you can take this one from the former queen of procrastination, or sometimes still putting the crown on every now and then. So personal freedom is acting now, not waiting for the perfect moment when all is safe and assured. It may never arrive. The last one I want to mention is thinking I'm a loser because my attempts failed. Anyone get that feeling sometimes? You try something, you try with a relationship, you try, and nothing you do seems to really work to repair it. You, maybe school, I work at Bow Valley College, we get a lot of learners who've been through the mill with education. They weren't academic and they struggled with high school, but they're back. They're back getting their GED, or they're back doing upgrading, and I just admire the courage, because it can be easy to fall into this one of, I'm a loser because my attempts have failed. So what we want to do is abandon our expectations of what our life should look like, and start focusing on what we have now, and building from there. And we need to remember that just because something is not going the way we want, it doesn't mean we haven't achieved anything. That idea of never giving up doesn't mean we shouldn't sometimes change direction. But never give up on yourself. Did you know that J.K. Rowling sent the Harry Potter manuscript to, anybody know how many houses? How many publishing houses? I don't have enough fingers. 12. She got 12 rejections of that book, and the 13th publishing house picked it up. So what if she had said at number 8, well, you know what, I've done my best. Who could fault her? I've sent this thing around everywhere. Clearly nobody wants this book. I guess just not meant to be. But she didn't do that. So personal freedom is reminding ourselves that we are infinitely supported in all that we think and do. Our success is assured. Our success is assured. So when I look at this, all of the limitations from this article, clearly, what's the factor in all of them? It's me, or it's you, right? We are the limiting factor. Our choice of what we want to think, our way that we choose to act, always, any barrier between us and personal freedom, it's not the thing, it's not the lack of money, it's not any of those other conditions that look so easy to blame. It's always here and here. It's always in us. And we know that from this teaching, yes? The good news, though, are you ready for some good news? I've already spent 3 pages on the bad news. So the good news is we're not meant to suffer. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, said, "I do not believe that God has imposed suffering upon anyone to punish them or teach them a lesson." So we really want to dispel this notion of, oh, life is tough, and then you die. I'm going to make the most of it while I'm here, and I'm doing okay. We're not here to survive. We're here to flourish and to be joyful beings and to realize all of what Spirit offers us, which is this life of joy and meaning, or however you describe it for yourself. So the good news is we're not meant to struggle. The promise we talk about is that there's this entire universe rushing in to create our heart's desires based on our predominant thought. So how we're thinking, what we're choosing to believe. And we believe that when we change our minds, we change our lives. That's right. So given this belief, really taking this belief to heart, we change our thinking, we change our lives. What can we do about experiencing more personal freedom? So when we embrace the idea, the path to personal freedom, embracing the path becomes more clear and a lot easier. So I have 3 practical suggestions for you today. The first suggestion is to develop your vision of personal freedom. So Lucille's reading this morning, my slides can get you thinking along this line, but it's really important that we develop our own idea, our own personalize this idea of personal freedom. What does it mean to you? Have you thought about that recently? And this is kind of the big arena thinking in our lives, that we then get into the big ideas and we own those big ideas, and then we let them filter down into our lives, into the everyday stuff we do. So why not focus this week some of your thinking, if our thoughts change our lives, why not focus some of that thinking today on that big arena of what is personal freedom to you? And you can ask yourself questions such as, what gives me joy? There's a wonderful book out right now that I'm going to buy. I haven't bought it yet, and I can't remember exactly the title of it, but it's something about releasing the clutter in your life by going toward what gives you joy. Bad paraphrase. But the point that this woman, in her book, is to clear the clutter, physical clutter in your life, pick the object up, and get in touch with it and think, does this really give me joy? If it doesn't, out it goes. Isn't that great? My partner would totally love it if I did that. The unfortunate thing is I might look at it all and say, oh, I love this thing. But maybe not. So we can do that with our lives. Like, think of the things that are in our lives right now. This commitment that I have on Tuesday nights. Do I love it? Is it giving me joy? And that doesn't mean that we don't ever do something that, we're committed to, and so we kind of have to do it. I'm sure that you make commitments, and there are some mornings when I might rather sleep in than come here and do the meditation and the reading, or be here at the center, or something in your life that you regularly do, and it typically gives you joy, and every now and then, you have to kind of make yourself do it. That's okay. I think that's fine. But is this thing you're doing, this something you have in your life, something you're engaged in, for the most part, offering you joy or a sense of satisfaction? So I'm not talking about like happy necessarily, rah-rah. It might be that when I do this thing, when I go and visit this particular relative who can be difficult to be around, when I visit that person, I walk away feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. So it's satisfaction, it's joy, is this thing mine to do? Is life called on me to do this because it's mine and it feels right? Is that making sense? Yeah. So you can do a little inventory and think about what gives me satisfaction. What is the state of mind that brings me peace and joy? Do you have enough dancing in your life? Do you have enough music? Do you have enough laughter? When I was laughing at that comedian, I thought, I never do this. I don't laugh enough. My laugh is on Sunday mornings when I come to hear Dr. Pat. So I need to get more laughter in my life. When do you feel most loving? When are those times when you've got that feeling, in your body? Not just sentimental, but that deep thing about, God, I just love, this morning I was driving here and thinking, I just love this place. I love that we come together. I love that we have this teaching and we want to learn and grow together. When you're feeling right in the world, what is it you're thinking and doing and feeling? In those moments, is it important for you to be out in nature? That's part of your personal freedom, but you only get out there once every 3 weeks. What are those things that are part of your personal freedom? What would it look like, or what does it look like? 'Cause I'm not assuming that you're not living in personal freedom. What would it look like, what does it look like when you are living in personal freedom? This week someone described another person to me as, it's her acupuncturist, and I said, well, what's he like? She said, oh, he's zen, in a chirpy, cheerful kind of way. And I thought, that sounds like personal freedom to me. Zen in a chirpy, cheerful kind of way. So then I thought, well, for me, would I be chirpy, cheerful? Not really. So for me, when I'm living a life of joy and meaning, it might look more like she's calm in a caring, profound, and hilarious kind of way. So for you, what might that sound like? If someone were to describe you living in personal freedom, what are the words that pop into your mind? Anybody want to throw one out that pops in quickly? Okay. Silence, yeah. I'm silent. I'm calm and my life is in order. Peace, sure. Another one I thought was, when I'm living a life of personal freedom, my life flows easily and I feel calm and peaceful. That may be more your description. So I challenge you this week then to sit down for a few minutes with music or silent, in a quiet place, with a computer to record your thoughts, with a pen and paper, with an audio recorder, or with no recording. But just spend a little bit of time with yourself and think about your vision of personal freedom. And you may find you're very clear. Something may pop into your head right away. You may just sit down and it'll just be, oh yeah, that's what it is. Or you may not be clear at all. And that would be all right. Whatever you discover, remember that your time spent remembering is worth it. And the reason that is worthwhile time is because life is a mirror. And it will reflect back to the thinker what he or she thinks into it. So where we're putting our thoughts is what we're producing and creating. So whether you're clear already, or not, the point isn't to get the right answer. The point is that the action of putting our thoughts in that positive place will automatically move us closer to that experience. Second idea I have for you this morning. So the first idea was spend some time thinking about your vision of personal freedom. Second idea I have is reconcile your past, present, and future. So a number of the lies we tell ourselves that I talked about at the beginning had to do with old thinking, right? Ideas we may have told ourselves over the years. So reconcile your past, present, and future. An example would be yesterday morning. I woke up feeling really lousy about my week. My recent past behavior, a meeting I led that I didn't think went as well as I would have liked, a meeting I facilitated that we kind of ran out of time at the end, even though the client seemed pretty satisfied, but I was judging my performance was below my usual standard. The week was done, people. And none of those things, and nobody was bleeding, nothing bad happened, but I was still kind of stuck in that. And then I realized that bad feeling wasn't just the recent past, it was also old stuff. It's kind of that old shame, that old feeling of I'm not good enough, and look at that, I just proved it. So, when we get into that old thinking, that old past stuff, that is not useful for us. However, what I did decide to do, I decided to pick up my journal as one of my spiritual practices. So I pulled my journal out and I'm writing, and I wrote down that stuff, like letting go of it. And then I also started to write down the positive things I did.